We started in Melbourne about 15 years ago. We floated in 2006 with the purpose of going to London, and for a long time we've had Melbourne and London as our centres. Our clients are financial advisors, stockbrokers, and some institutions here in Australia, Morgan Stanley, Credit Suisse, ANZ Private, Westpac and so on. If I just go to what's happening in our market, if I just start with the really big high-level trend, we've been talking for a long time about a real shift in the way platforms have been developed. Many years ago, master trusts were the fast-growing new innovative thing, and then they slowed down, and then wrap platforms became the thing. We've been arguing for a long time that SMA, or model portfolios, if you like, using a technology, will be the next big thing. Interestingly enough, Morgan Stanley recently wrote a paper, which they call Disruptors, where they talk about the SMA market really now starting to take off. Now, the platform market is almost $700 billion, and with the tailwind of superannuation is naturally going to grow to almost $1 trillion over the next 5 years or so. They see SMA as the fastest growing segment, going from $18 billion today to about $60 billion in 4 years' time. And most importantly, over 70% of retail flows could be flowing into SMA model portfolios and SMAs on platform. Praemium is the market leader in SMA today, and we're growing very strongly. I also want to point to the little table there, or the graph there on the right-hand side. We see it in our numbers too. This sudden shift towards SMA, we see it in our numbers here in Australia. Now remember, we've been doing SMA in Australia for 10 years, if not longer. And I just wanted to point to some of these very interesting stats. If you look at the cohort of 2014, these are the clients who came onto our platform in that financial year. They didn't give us much business in that first year. They gave us a little bit more the year after. This is the bottom bit of the curve. And a little bit more in FY16. Then look at the class of 15. They gave us quite a lot more in the first year and a nice jump up in the following year. And look at our class of 2016. Massive amount of business in the first year that they were clients on our SMA platform. What I think we're seeing here, remember, we are the longest SMA player in Australia. We're the market leader. We're known as an SMA specialist. We're seeing in our numbers, I think, that shift from early adopters to now the SMA market really going mainstream. So we fully agree with Morgan Stanley. This is going to change everything. It will change stockbroking, funds management and platforms, as well as the advice space. A little bit about how our revenue is broken up on the left-hand side. You'll see the bottom blue there. That is not SMA. That is portfolio administration software. We call it VRAP. It's non-custodial reporting. We have lots of stockbroking firms that use that service, as well as a lot of advice firms, and some of our institutional clients. The thing that's been growing, of course, is the yellow that you see there. That's the SMA. Now, we run SMA here, and we run SMA in London as well. And on the right-hand side, you can see the split between Australia and the international business. And remembering that international business, the red you can see there, that is pretty much all SMA. And interestingly enough, you'll see just how much bigger the UK has been over the last 2 years. When I joined the company 5 years ago, it took me 2.5 years to fix the UK operation. And you can see it in the numbers now, the result of that turnaround. It's growing now very strongly. In terms of the most recent data that we've published, that's our quarterly numbers for September. On the left-hand side, you can see the gross inflows onto our platform, both for Australia in the green and international, the purple. It was a record for both Australia and international. Never had such high inflows. And you can see the impact that's happening on our funds under administration on the right-hand side. Growing very, very strongly. I think at this point we're about 5.1 billion, I think, 1.8 being the UK and 3.3 being Australia. And finally, before I take questions, I want to just draw your attention to the middle graph there, the EBITDA. I've talked about the year before I joined. You can see there we were losing a lot of money. You can see that we quickly turned around the business. We stopped the cash flow, stopped the cash burn very quickly. We last raised capital in 2012, 4 years ago. So we've been living on our own means ever since. And what you're seeing now is the very strong operating leverage in that business. And I should also point out that EBITDA in Praemium's world is real EBITDA. There's no capitalised R&D. We don't account for share-based payments separately. That's all in that EBITDA number. So that's our real EBITDA. And I also should point out, in that last couple of years there, even though we've grown our profits quite strongly, we've also invested in the business. We have about 50% bigger IT team. We really are a fintech company. About 40% of our staff are software people, if you like. And we've grown that team by 50% in the last 2 years, and they're not cheap, these people. And yet we've managed to grow the business. And now we're investing in sales and marketing because the opportunity is so big, both here and internationally, for our SMA platform.